Assalamu alaikum. My name is Shujat Wasti, and I'm pleased to be here to talk to you about OBAT Canada today. It's a charity that I founded a few years ago, and I want to thank Being Me for their kind invitation and for giving us this platform to share some thoughts about our work and to introduce you all perhaps to the good work that we've been doing. So I started OBAT Canada, as I mentioned, a few years ago. It's a volunteer-based organization. So everyone that's involved with OBAT is a volunteer, including the executive director and anyone else on the team. Everyone is there on a purely volunteer basis. We don't pay salaries. And we are all working professionals who have come together to do good work and to help some of the most neediest people in the world, the most neediest and neglected people in the world. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But what being a volunteer-based organization allows us to do then is that because we're limiting our expenses, we're able to put 100% of the donations that we receive directly towards our programs. So any donation that we receive goes straight into the programs. There's no administrative cost that is deducted. No expenses are deducted from the donations. And of course, to limit our expenses as a charity, we also try to to limit our expenses. We don't spend on a lot of things that people might expect us to spend on. For example, we don't spend on speakers. We don't spend on marketing material. Whatever we do, we try to do it in a cost-effective manner. And one of the other thing that we do also is, of course, trying to make charity accessible to everyone. And what I mean by that is that we want to make that anyone is able to participate in the act of giving, and for their giving, whatever amount it is, however little or big it is, for their giving to make a difference in the lives of those in need. So we're able to provide different kinds of programs that are high impact but low cost. So where we work is, and where we're making a major difference is in South Asia. So we focused on one area of the world, South Asia, which has actually per capita the poorest people in the world. And we work in Pakistan, we work in India, but where we really focus our efforts and where we're really present is in Bangladesh, with among the Urdu-speaking displaced population camps, which have actually been there for close to 50 years now, where people have been languishing, multiple generations have now been languishing in these camps since 1971. And of course, we're also very present in the other displaced population, or one of the other displaced populations in Bangladesh, which are the Rohingya refugees. And that basically, we've been on the front lines. OBAT has been on the front lines since the crisis escalated in 2017. Of course, the genocide has been going on for much longer, but in 2017, the crisis escalated. Several hundreds of thousands of Rohingya refugees were forced to flee their homeland in Myanmar and come across the border through a very difficult journey, make a very, very difficult journey to escape the violence in Myanmar, and they found refuge in Bangladesh. Now there are over 1 million Rohingya refugees in total in the southeastern part of Bangladesh. We're very present. We've been there from the front, from the onset of when the escalation happened. We made, at that time, we were building homes, we were building bridges, repairing structures, handing out food, and arranging for all of those kind of doing all those relief efforts. But we also set up a clinic, which to this day is functioning, alhamdulillah, and is serving Rohingya patients every day in Kutupalong camp number 4. And we also have a few learning centers, which are essentially safe spaces for Rohingya children to find a place where they can get an escape from their the everyday difficulties of living in a refugee camp. Flipping back to the Urdu-speaking displaced populations, between both of them, as well as in the rest of South Asia, we have projects spanning health, hygiene, education, basic needs. I would like to just maybe introduce a few to you, highlight a few of the projects that might be of interest. All of our projects, all of the details are on our website, obatcanada.org. But one of them that might be of particular interest, of course, is the Eyesight restoration program. So for a very little cost, for very minimal cost, we're able to restore the eyesight of someone who isn't able to see, and within minutes they're able to see again. After the follow-up is done, after all that is done, they're able to again see the world, see themselves, and then are also able to get back on their feet and generally contribute to be able empowered and be able to contribute to their own well-being and their livelihood. So we have that project that I want to just highlight with you and share with you today. Another project that might be of interest is the maternal care program. That is basically inspired by our, as Canadians, we're very proud of our Medicare system, our free Medicare, and which has, giving health access to all Canadians. And so we've introduced something similar for mothers that are expecting. So what they've previously they were forced to give birth in their shelters in unsanitary conditions, and that affected both the health of the mother and the child, and of course sometimes unfortunately it would lead to mortality as well for either or both. What our program does is that it gives them a Medicare card, very similar to what we have in Canada, with which they can then access specific hospitals and clinics and get trained professional obstetricians, gynecologists to look after them in the prenatal stage, and then as well as so then they get access to blood tests, urine tests, whatever tests they need to do. They get free access to when the time comes to deliver the baby, with a team of professionals in a clean, healthy environment. And so to date, we've delivered over 350 babies through this program, alhamdulillah. And the mother and the baby are also followed by the medical staff post-birth as well, to make sure that there's no complications and that they're doing okay. Thirdly, we have an orphan sponsorship program that we have started, and this is a very comprehensive program. It covers there's these orphans that are living in these camps. They're not only living in these camps, but they're further disadvantaged, being orphans, of course. And so we provide them with food. Them and, if applicable, their guardians. We provide them with food security. We get them access to quality education, quality health care, and to top it off, we also provide them with gifts at Eid, for example, and occasions as such. But another unique part of our program, though, is that the sponsor, whoever sponsors a child, an orphan, through this program, gets the opportunity to actually have a video chat with them. A live direct video chat. We do provide interpretation services for those who are not able to converse in either Urdu or Bangla, but it's a very unique and special opportunity for the sponsor to interact directly with the child. And this is all done for $30 a month, 30 Canadian dollars a month. And finally, last but not least, I wanted to share another program with you, and this is definitely not least. This is the OBAT think tank, we call them. And basically these are youth groups that we've set up of youth that have gone through the what I call the OBAT ecosystem. And so they have their lives have been touched by OBAT. Most of them have graduated from some OBAT education program, and they're now giving back. They're getting together, they're coming up with ideas on how to improve the lives of those around them, those in the camps, those outside of the camps as well. And we support them. We support them to engage in these different initiatives and to engage in a positive manner. And what we've tried to do is really empower these youth to become and educate them in a way where they become leaders themselves. It's wonderful to see. It's a cycle that has now begun. We're starting to see it every year. There's more and more youth that are graduating, doing well academically, graduating out of these from these camps. They're from these camps, but they're graduating. We have our first ever doctor. We have our first ever pharmacist who's actually female, and they've become examples for a lot of the other youth who now believe, who have hope, and who now believe that they also can fulfill their dreams and they're driven and they're motivated. And so this is a cycle that we, alhamdulillah, that we were able to start. And it's like an avalanche. It's growing and growing as the days pass by. So all in all, that's OBAT Canada in a nutshell, and it's a great opportunity for us to be able to share with all of you some of these accomplishments of ours and some of these programs. I urge you to please check out our website, obatcanada.org, and check us out on Facebook and Instagram at OBAT Canada. We regularly provide updates on our different work, or on our different projects, so that you're able to stay up to date. And I would like to end off with a thought, and that really is that for us at OBAT, charity is not a space to be commodified. We really see charity as a spiritual mindset. Our approach is as such, and we really try, as volunteers, to approach the work with the best of intentions, and we encourage our generous donors to do the same, to approach charitable giving with a spiritual mindset, and not perhaps as a transactional relationship, but it really is that you're doing it for the best of intentions, because we firmly believe that is the key to success. That type of approach, that type of mindset is what will allow for success in the projects. It's not the amount of money. It really is when you give with ikhlas, with sincerity, with true belief in Allah Subhanahu wa Taala's what He's told us to do and to share with those in need, and to really treat it as such. We believe that is what leads to success. So I thank you for listening, and I extend a hand to you and invite you to please join us on our journey as we go through this together, and please check out our website, and I hope to hear from all of you. Take care. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, viewers. I would like to thank OBAT Canada to give me this opportunity to talk about my experience in the Bangladeshi camps. Although it's not easy to talk about, I will try to describe to you what I witnessed and the emotion that came with a visit like this. My husband and I have been supporters of Dr. Wasti's work for many years. We would regularly attend the events he organized. We would see some pictures, hear about the horrible living conditions, donate a few dollars, and then go back home to our daily lives. Often we did not give these people much of a second thought, feeling good that we had done our part to help these individuals, but gradually we felt we needed to do a bit more. And rather than just donating and attending the events, we wanted to play a more active role in helping this community in need. We spoke to Dr. Wasti and were able to arrange a 1-month volunteering project in the displaced population camps in Bangladesh. As I was preparing the speech, it took me back in the midst of the camps. I could hear the voices of the individuals echoing in my ear, and remembering the pain that I had felt. My eyes can still see the despair on people's faces, looking older than their age from the worries of life. Their problems were real, not like our first world troubles. Their problems were about basic needs. Often they would not have enough money to buy food, to prepare even one meal a day, and were forced to sleep on empty stomachs. The economic conditions deprived them of having access to better health care and any health care whatsoever. These people could not even afford to get sick, since they never had any money to buy proper medication. For every health problem, no matter how serious it was, they would often just buy their version of Tylenol. The rate of home births were surprisingly high, and the lack of nutrition, proper health care, education about pregnancies, and limited access to medical supplies and facilities led to a high infant mortality rate. Geneva Camp was the first one we visited, the most crowded camp with over 40,000 residents. It was hard to walk through the narrow alleys, crowded with people and garbage spilling out on the streets. In some of the houses we visited, it was hard to breathe, and my eyes burned because of the smoke from the burning wood used to fuel the makeshift clay stove. The smoke turned the room into a black fire pit, and the heat circulating inside made it unbearably hot. At that point, I could not help myself but to think how someone can possibly survive in such horrid conditions. Another worrisome truth I yet had to discover was that this deadly smoke was causing many to suffer from asthma and other respiratory illness. As we walked in the camps, I was startled to see a few women taking a bath in the open with their clothes on, since they did not have private washrooms in their homes. They would have to line up for hours to use the toilets. There were about 250 toilets for the 40,000 residents of the camp. Their worries and problems had no end. Witnessing all this with my own eyes was so depressing. And seeing a human being deprived of their basic needs made me feel sick to my stomach. I lost my appetite for almost 6 weeks, and even the visits to the camps became emotionally challenging. Yet I could not even get close to the intensity of the emotions, physical and mental suffering these individuals faced on a daily basis, as I was not living it, but only experiencing it as an outsider. I thought the situation of the people of Geneva Camp was worse. But I did not realize that the conditions were much better than the other camps we were about to visit throughout Bangladesh. Next, we visited Adamji Camp, just outside Dhaka. The camp's alleys were unpaved, filled with mud and garbage. The camp's residents' houses were situated on these very muddy paths, and the open sewage lines ran along their shelters. I had to hold my breath, as the smell was unbearable. They lived right in a garbage dump. There were piles of garbage behind their houses and in the alleys. One of the shelters I visited, an old lady was so fed up of her life that she started to beg me to take her to Canada with me. She was so tired of facing the day-to-day challenges of her life and was so desperate to escape. I was at a loss of words, feeling so overwhelmed, trying to find the right words to comfort her. But I could only tell her the help will come soon, inshallah. She told me that life was so difficult that they did not even have money to buy oil for the stove, since it was so expensive, and they would go hungry for days. The tin ceilings of their shelters had so many holes that the rainwater would come through and make all their belongings wet. Worst of all, there was no proper drainage system in the camps, and when it rained, the water mixed with the open sewage and entered their homes, reaching knee-high levels. This whole catastrophe would bring with it waterborne diseases, skin diseases, cold, and at times death. I was almost about to puke when I witnessed with my own eyes a young boy whose skin was peeling off, and I asked what they did to heal him. The only thing they could say was, "We don't have the means to do anything about it." I can't imagine their pain, their frustrations, their anxiety to provide the necessary means for their loved ones and see them suffer. We went to many camps in Bangladesh in a month, and the situation was bad in all the camps. The very last camp we visited was Ishwardi. The situation was so horrible that we could hear desperation in the elder's voice. When we entered the camp, we were surrounded by the residents. They were all tugging at us and asking us to visit their shelters to see the situation and the condition of the places they lived in. and to hear their stories because they felt they would receive help right at that moment. I felt so exhausted that instant and wondered how I can take their worries away, but could hardly put words together and gathered the courage to tell them that help will come soon and we are here to assess the situation. And to hear your stories, but we can't provide any immediate assistance. I saw the smile disappear from their faces. I even heard someone saying, now these people are here, we will get a good supply of food. There were so many emotions that I experienced at that moment, and I felt no energy to keep going further as I could not take it anymore. I was so flabbergasted to see the heap of garbage the people had to cross over to use a toilet that was overflowing because there was no drainage and no access to water. Getting the toilets was already challenging, yet having no electricity in the toilets was already challenging. And having to walk in the dark made the situation even worse. To wash the laundry and dishes, the woman had to carry them to the water point. In some camps, people had to travel more than 30 minutes to fetch drinking water on their back from a water point. After entering one of the homes in Ishwardi camp, I settled myself in a room and took a glance around, and I was shocked by the cracks and holes in the ceilings and old broken furniture. The residents were afraid their house could collapse at any moment, and they might be buried under the rubble of their own houses. I could only hear the despair in their voices, and even the drinking water contained high amounts of iron, and they had no other drinking water. The most testing thing I saw was the 16-year-old boy on his deathbed, gasping for air. He had become so weak since he could not eat anything, and he had lost so much weight that it made him look like a skeleton. I remember the parents told me that his lungs had collapsed, and even the doctors could not help. His condition had deteriorated since he was not taken to the hospital in time due to a lack of funds. It's beyond me to feel the pain of the parents to watch their son die in front of their own eyes, feeling so helpless. Once we got back to the house of the people who were hosting us, I started crying. It had been a month, and the conditions in this camp really broke me down. The stress and depression that had built up overwhelmed me. The tears started rolling down, and I could not help myself. On a subsequent visit to Bangladesh, I had a chance to survey the Rohingya refugee camps. I remember walking in the heat for less than 2 hours, which made me completely exhausted. To this day, I do not know how the Rohingya bear the heat and isolation in the camps. The women were especially vulnerable as domestic violence and sexual harassment are a very big concern. Like the shelters in the displaced population camps, there is no plumbing, and in this case, there is no electricity either. I cannot imagine the terror the women must feel after sunset as they have to go use toilets or get water. We cannot imagine the horrors of living in these camps, but we can try to be more mindful of the blessings we do have in our lives. Now I want all of you to take a moment to reflect. When you turn on the tap today, think about how many around the world are deprived of water. When you feel you don't have a new dress to wear, think about people who wear the same clothes over and over whose conditions have worsened as they cannot have access to any. Think about those who have to go days at a time before they get food. Oftentimes, we take the basic needs of our life for granted, and we don't realize how it's all such a great blessing. We should be thankful every moment for having access to running water, security, good health, fresh air to breathe, food, safety, and easy access to education. All of this will make us appreciate life so much more. To be grateful and to find joy in every little thing in life by focusing on the positives. I appreciate the kind words of people coming up to us and telling us how courageous and daring we are to visit these camps. But I feel the residents of the camps deserve much more appreciation because they are the real heroes and they continue to smile and have hope in their future, even though they are living in such horrible conditions. Their courage, patience, and the spirit to keep striving in the face of these challenges was so admirable. These people were very hospitable and had a big heart, even though they had so little for themselves. I want to leave with a few words. It's our responsibility to serve our fellow human beings in need. By no means we're doing a favor to those in need, as we're only being thankful by sharing the bounties that Allah SWT has blessed us with. Lastly, I want to thank Dr. Wasti for starting this amazing organization and working tirelessly to help make a difference in people's life. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
All right, so we're here at our first clinic number 1, OBAT's clinic number 1. We started this really early on, back when the crisis hit. So as we walk in, you'll see here we have the waiting area. People come, they sit here, they register, they have to wash their hands over here, and then they walk in after they're done registering. What we have over here is the pharmacy. This is where the medicine gets dispensed. And we're going to keep walking because there's a lot of people here. As you can see, it's a very popular clinic. And a lot of people end up coming from far and wide. They come here where they get the initial testing, initial setup. This is what they're doing right now, checking the blood pressures and all that stuff. We'll go zoom through. The ER is over here. I won't go in there, but there's multiple sections that we're using for ER patients. Then there's different OPD booths that you can see. People are waiting to be seen by different doctors for different things. We've got doctors that we have here, as well as volunteer doctors through various partner groups from all over the world, the US, Canada, UK. We've got a blood test and lab over here. And then if you turn to the left, we've also got a dentist section down there. There's 2 sections there for the dentist. And of course there's different OPDs, so doctors are seeing different patients at all times. We've got five of those, so 5 doctors at all times seeing patients. That's a quick run through our setup here for OBAT. And I'm glad to see whenever we talk to them. There's some medical specialists here from the States and from different places, and it's really fantastic to hear that their experience is fantastic here. They say that this is one of the most well-run places that they've volunteered in. Some of them have volunteered for several different humanitarian organizations, and they still say that OBAT clinic here is one of the best that they've ever volunteered in. So thanks for your support, and we got to keep this going.